Hi, my name is Thomas Akers. This is part 2 of What is Truth? And the title of this one is Relativism. A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. First thing we know about truth is unchanging. The earth is round. The earth was always round ever since it was created. It was round. It was never flat. It was always round. That truth is unchanging. Even before Columbus sailed and discovered America, it was round before that. The words spoken, those words that I just said, that the earth is round, they echo throughout eternity. So they're always true. It's not well, someday in the future say, well, he didn't really say that. No, you know that I said that. And that truth will always be there. Even if I said something that's incorrect, that truth is still there, that I said it incorrectly. If you had an instrument powerful enough, you could measure that sound wave all the way on the other side of the universe. Even though it was not that loud, that sound wave would echo, go all the way through if you had something powerful enough to measure it. Travel very slow, it's 700 and some miles an hour, but Jesus said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. The truth will never pass away. Beliefs cannot change a fact. The earth is flat. See, I have a little picture in the bottom left of a flat earth. There's people that believe that. It doesn't change the fact because there's people that believe that. It doesn't change that fact that the earth is not flat. What's funny to me about this, you see the whole earth would be sunshine at the same time. When the sun was at midday, it would cover the whole earth. Every part of the earth would have sunlight. But we know that's not true. If you call someone on the other side of the earth, it's very clear that it's dark over there. A lot of things we could prove that. We know that that belief doesn't change the fact. Here you see I have the guy who believed he was the Joker, the upper middle. He has a red hair. He believed he was the Joker from Batman. He went into a movie theater and killed a bunch of people in Colorado. Him believing that doesn't change the fact. He's not the Joker from Batman. That's a cartoon character. Of course he's not. So his belief in that didn't change the fact that he's not that. Here you see I have Caitlyn Jenner down the bottom right, formerly Bruce Jenner. And I have a little clip here I want to play. It's from the Howard Stern show. But the point I want to show is that they're very concerned about words, especially Ellen. She says, it's the word. But yet they're very quick to misuse pronouns. Now you see that a lot of people don't even want to use pronouns. These people, not a lot of people, but the people who believe these lies. What I want to say is that truth and words have meaning. And once you go down one road, it takes you down every road of believing that everything's a lie. Almost like what I was talking about in the first one. Imagine a whole world where they told nothing but lies. It'd be a horrible world. Ellen's a very nice lady, but she believes a lie.
Caitlyn Jenner is on the show today, our first show, and she really she still has a judgment about gay marriage. She's saying that she's and I said, you're wanting people to understand and accept you. This is like really confusing to people. And you still have a judgment about gay people and marriage and she goes,
crazy.
Well, she said, if the word marriage is that important, and I was like, it is, because that's the word. Like, we want the same thing, everybody.
Well, here's a person on TV crying that, hey, I want to be myself, I want to be genuine.
I had to hide my entire life.
I don't want people to ridicule me.
Yeah.
And then says in the same breath, gee, gay marriage, I don't get it. It's remarkable.
So you can see that they're judging Caitlyn's judgment. They're using words like she and genuine. Well, these words have meaning, and to use them incorrectly is to cause confusion and error.
And I don't really know her, and I'm trying to understand it because I don't fully understand it either. But I also want everyone to be happy. So, but I don't fully understand all of that, but I want her to be happy, which is what I want for her. For me, you know what I mean?
It doesn't make sense that someone wouldn't even understand that.
Well, that's the thing that's very confusing about the show, because she still has that conservative underlying philosophy on top of all of this.
Yeah, she's Republican and conservative,
Yeah.
and I think, a lot of Republicans are wishing she wasn't Republican.
He asked her, why do you care about gay marriage? Because it's the word. That's right, because it's truth. They want to grab onto that, but then lie about everything else. Misuse pronouns. Call a man she. See, once you go down that road, everything's up for grabs. There is no truth once you go down that road. See, the other thing, if you watch the first one, it's all about being happy. Happiness is the truth. Oh, I just want to, what did she say? I want her to be happy because I want to be happy. They're not after the truth. They're on a happiness quest, not on a truth quest. Care less about the truth. They got the fingers in their ears. La, 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 la. I don't want to hear the truth. It might hurt my feelings. Remember there was a gal that pretended she was black, painted her face up and curled her hair. She was actually a freckle-faced, red-haired, freckle-faced girl. She got into, I don't know, some black organization. Some people were accepting it for a while, but eventually they caught on, and somebody caught on and said, hey, she's not black. That wasn't acceptable in that world. Now people are accepting, or some of them are starting to accept the transgender. That isn't the truth, though. Those words are important. They have meaning. Marriage has a meaning. Male, female. Jesus said God created a male and female. God did that. You didn't do it. You don't make that decision. Polls and popular opinion don't affect it. Your belief, whether you accept it, what you believe or accept, doesn't make any difference of the fact. Cannot change that fact. Polls, we talked a little bit about that before. It's because everybody says that 2 + 2 = 3 doesn't make it. If everyone polled, wouldn't make one bit of difference. Popular opinion doesn't matter. If 51% of the people believe that Bruce Jenner is a woman, it doesn't change the fact. He is not. He won the decathlon. He's most certainly a man. Even if he believes it, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the truth. No more than that guy believing that he's the Joker from Batman. Just because he believes it doesn't make it true. Even if everyone else believed it, wouldn't make it true. Truth is not affected by attitude. Ellen is a very happy lady. I'm sure a lot of people like her. She's very nice. She's still wrong. Howard Stern, on the other hand, he's a mocker or a scoffer. I think he'd be wrong too, being with his attitude. Complete opposite attitude and personality of Ellen. Whether you're bold or meek, they very boldly say, the earth is flat. Or you can say, the earth is round. It's not affected by it. Or mean or nice. Like I said, Howard Stern's a prime example of someone mean. Gets a kick out of making people feel uncomfortable and putting them down, scoffing, mocking them. Ellen, on the other hand, she likes everybody. Wouldn't say a bad word about anyone, no matter what. Doesn't affect the truth either way, whether you're nice or mean. Being emotional, being all mean or being all nice. If your emotional perceptions of everything, I just want to be happy. That's what you're relying on, those emotional perceptions. Oh, well, that person made me happy, so they must be telling me the truth. Those aren't reliable. They misinterpret it. When they're ran unchecked, they rule your brain. Not what is the truth. If you feel like you are the Joker from Batman, letting a 3-year-old pick their gender, they're not emotionally ready for that. Not to mention they don't have the deductive reasoning and the reasoning skills. It's nonsense. Tolerance. But we have to be tolerant of others. It's intolerant to presume that your view is better than someone else's. Really? Is that tolerant for them to say that? You see how it's not true? It's intolerant of them to say that I'm being intolerant. Tolerance requires us to accept all views equally. Really? Then you have to accept my view that tolerance is bad. See how it turns back on itself? You ought not question someone's religious belief. Well, you ought not question me questioning someone else's belief. See how these things they turn back on themselves. Because once you say that I shouldn't, You're doing the exact same thing I did when I said you shouldn't. Tolerance is the attitude of those who do not believe in anything. Anyways, I'm going to play this thing. It's a professor at the end of it that organized these college students to not tolerate free speech. It's amazing. Back in the 70s, this would have never happened. Even in the 80s. Freedom of speech was what Americans held dear. It was the one thing that everyone agreed on was freedom of speech. Now this is being attacked, violently attacked. They're saying by what they call tolerance, which is intolerant for anyone to think anything different than what they think. So anyways, I'm going to play this. You can see she actually tells them, let's get some muscle over here to get this guy out of here. She's being intolerant. But she's saying just the opposite.
You think it's funny. You need to move. I have a job to do. I'm documenting this for national news. You can't behave like this. Yes, I can. This is the First Amendment that protects your right to stand here, protects mine. I'm walking forward. I'm walking forward. You're pushing me. You're pushing me. I'm being pushed. We're walking. You're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. It's our right to walk forward, isn't it? I believe it's our right to walk forward.
Hi, media. Can I talk to you?
No, you need to get out. You need to get out.
No, I don't.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here.
You see this teacher, she organized it all. She's the one that wants to get some muscle over there. Tolerance. Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." The peacemaker's most difficult task is to persuade the intolerant to tolerate the intolerable. These people are most certainly the intolerable. When we lose our ability of free speech, we lose freedom, all of our freedom. Here's the next one I want to talk about. It's all truths are absolute truths. Reality. Words. Love, hope, faith. Reality is everything's real around you. It's an absolute truth. How you feel right now. Maybe you feel hot, you feel cold, you feel warm. It's a reality. You say, well, that's just from my point of view. But it's still reality to you. 100 years from now, it'll still be truth that that's the way you felt today. It seems subjective, but it's not. Because it's reality for you. Say, well, that's perspective. Yeah, it is. It's perspective. But it's the true perspective of how you feel. If you're in pain, it's your true perspective that you are in pain. Words. Those words that I just said. That's true. All those words that I just said, they're absolute truths that I said them. Love, hope, faith. Those are all absolute truths. Next part is a really fun part, I think. It's the law of non-contradiction. See here I have a sign that says, do not enter. It says enter only. It's a contradiction, isn't it? This law of non-contradiction transcends everything. Transcends space, time, matter, everything. The law of non-contradiction says, contrary beliefs are possible, but contrary truths are not possible. So this leads us to self-defeating statements. There's a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. It's written by Frank Turek and Norman Geisler. And they have this, what they call the Roadrunner tactic. This Roadrunner tactic is a tactic you use to find these self-defeating statements. The reason why they say the Roadrunner is because if you notice in the Roadrunner, if you ever watch that cartoon, there's a time when Wile E. Coyote goes off the cliff. And he'll be just hanging there for a few seconds. Nothing holding him up. Instead of him falling down, gravity isn't working because it's a cartoon. But there's nothing to substantiate or no truth in that holding him up. It's just air. It's nothing there. That's what a self-defeating statement is. It's a statement that commits suicide on itself. There's nothing to hold it up. Has nothing to substantiate it. So he calls it the Roadrunner tactic or the suicide tactic. So we'll get right into it. The first one is there is no truth. Well, is that true? The statement itself commits suicide on itself. Because if there is no truth, that statement cannot be true. So it has nothing to substantiate it, nothing, no foundation, nothing to hold up on. It's floating out there in midair with nothing to give it truth, because there is no truth. Now they'll say it in a little bit different way, a little bit more subtle way. They'll say, objective truth does not exist. If it does, it's arrogant to assume you know the truth with any certainty. Is that an objective statement? No, it's someone's opinion. So if objective truth does not exist, that statement cannot be true. It commits suicide on itself. If it does, it's arrogant to assume you know the truth with any certainty. Well, it's arrogant for them to make that statement. See, so everything turns back on itself and commits suicide on itself. Objectively, that statement has no merit because it can't be objective. If there is no objective truth, it can't be objective in itself. Once again, with the arrogance. Whenever they use words like that, those are like modifiers that they put on there to try to make it look like you're the one being arrogant. They're accusing you of what they're doing. Similar to like the tolerance, saying you're being intolerant when they're actually being intolerant. They're saying you're being arrogant, where actually they're the one being arrogant. It turns right back on itself. All truth is relative. Well, that statement is relative. It's from a relative point of view, so it can't be true. It's relatively meaningless because it's relative. You say, well, why are you showing Star Wars here? Well, Star Wars has a scene in it, and it's all about who is Darth Vader. And if you watch the movies, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Obi-Wan told Luke that Darth Vader killed his father. But that wasn't the truth. Darth Vader was his father. You'll see he uses it in a very subtle way. And he's trying to show this, which is what relativism. Trying to say it's all relative from your point of view.
Why didn't you tell me? You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed. So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
You see, he says it in a little different way. He says many of the truths we cling to depend upon our point of view. Well, yeah, they do depend on our point of view, the truths that we have. But that doesn't mean that your point of view is always wrong, or that you can just manipulate someone and bear false witness, which we talked about in the first part. That's exactly what he did. He manipulated him into believing something that wasn't true. You can say, oh, well, that's the way I think about it. You can say that about anything. Go up and try that at your bank. Say, well, from my point of view, I have $1 million in this bank. It's not going to work. So it's not true. You can say that, but it's a form of manipulation. It's trying to introduce relativism. It's all your point of view. No, there's things that are truth. They're true for everyone. And that's a difference between just an opinion or truth. You need to check it out. What is the truth? It was not true that Darth Vader killed his father. It was not true. We know that in the story. Obviously, it's just a story, but... So next I want to talk about self-defeating songs, or the lyrics in them. Nothing really matters. Well, it's not self-defeating. Well, if nothing really matters, that statement doesn't matter. That Roadrunner tactic will bring these to light real easy. Another one is dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. But if you're just dust in the wind, you wouldn't be able to write a song. So it's self-defeating. We know it. I know nobody knows. Wait a second. Do you know or you don't know? Oh, you know, nobody knows where it comes, where it goes. Sometimes all our thoughts are misgiven. These are some of the biggest songs in rock. Nothing Really Matters from Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury. Nothing really matters, does it? How many people die on that wall of death thinking that nothing really matters? Anyone can see nothing really matters to him. I realize that these are all artistic things and poetry, and they're not really meant to be what they say. So, we take these, but it's still just something to consider. And, Freddie Mercury, I'm not sure that he really ever thought nothing really matters. He's talking about it in a song. But even in the song, the person who was saying that, he was talking to his mother, saying, Mama just killed a man and all that. Why did he care? If nothing really matters, why would he even tell his mother? What does it matter? Because it does matter. But even in the Bible, it has things like this. And Ecclesiastes says, all is vanity. Or in some versions, it would say, everything is meaningless. But in the context of that, what is really meant is that everything is meaningless without God. And that, you could say, so with a lot of these in the context of the song, what do they really mean? What does the writer really mean? So you have to take that into account. Same with dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Meaning that this life is very short. And, the things we do, how they affect people, it's very short. Which there's truth in some of those things. I know nobody knows where it comes or where it goes. I know it's everybody's sin. You got to lose to know how to win. Dream on, dream till the good Lord takes you away. And there's some truths in the song. I mean, dreams are good. It's good to have dreams. But you don't want your whole life to be dreams. There has to be some reality in it. He says, I know nobody knows. Nobody knows. I know. How do you know nobody knows? You don't really know, do you? But, it's in the song, and you're to take it for the way it goes in the lyrics. But it commits suicide on itself. All these do, and that's just what I want to show, Sometimes all our thoughts are misgiven. That's in Stairway to Heaven. Robert Plant wrote that from Led Zeppelin, one of the biggest rock songs of all time. If sometimes all our thoughts are misgiven, you wouldn't even know that you had misgiven thoughts if all of them were misgiven, so you wouldn't even know. So it commits suicide on itself. Now, sometimes some of your thoughts can be misgiven. He actually goes on further in the song to say that there's two paths you can go by. So if there's two paths you can go by, right and wrong, that you can actually sometimes know what is right. So I think probably a better way would be saying sometimes some of our thoughts are misgiven, but I'm overly critical of it. I know I'm being overly critical. All truth is relative still. People believe that. It's just relative. Well, all opinions, I would agree with that, are relative. I wouldn't even say these people you see on the screen right here would say all truth is relative. I'm not saying that. I'm not presenting that. Obviously, up here in the upper right is President Jimmy Carter. I'm going to play a clip from 1976. And in that clip, he says, very matter-of-factly, that the Earth is going to run out of oil in 35 years. Well, that time is long gone by, here it is, 2019. And this is what a lot of people believe. The scientists told him this. I'm not saying he could come to this conclusion all on his own, but is what he perceived as being truth.
We need to have a realization that we've got about 35 years worth of oil left in the whole world. We're going to run out of oil. When Mr. Nixon made his famous speech on Operation Independence, we were importing about 35% of our oil. Now we've increased that amount 25%. We now import about 44% of our oil. We need to shift from oil to coal. We need to concentrate our research and development effort on coal burning and extraction that's safe for miners, that also is clean burning. We need to shift very strongly toward solar energy. and have strict conservation measures, and then as a last resort only, continue to use atomic power. I would certainly not cut out atomic power altogether. We can't afford to give up that opportunity until later.
It's pretty matter-of-factly. He said about. He does say about. You give him a break on that. About 35 years. Look at that, maybe 70, 80 years. About 35. But this was everything that they were saying at the time, that the scientists, supposedly. Science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. So the scientists were the ones that were telling him this. So they had somehow figured out that they had exactly 35 years left of oil, which is very bad figuring. Whoever did that, they were wrong, obviously wrong. We now have this inconvenient truth. I watched the movie Inconvenient Truth with Al Gore and wanted to see what they're saying in there. Well, every prediction they made in there has not happened. There's still snow on Mount Kilimanjaro, which they very matter-of-factly predicted there would not be by now. Well, here it is 2019, and there's still snow on Mount Kilimanjaro. See, the thing is to me, this is irresponsible. Because these are relative things they're saying. They're opinions. They're not truth. They present them as truth. And then it gets people to believing that all truth is relative. Well, no. Opinion is relative. But truth is different than opinion. Things we know are true. Things we predict or whether we speculate are relative. Those are just opinions. Now we have the Green New Deal, which is saying a lot of the same things. You know, it's almost like the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, when you get a little older, you're going to realize that this has happened before. And I'm just showing you a few things here. It's happened many times before. This sky is falling mentality. I grew up in the Los Angeles area and in the valley. And when I was a kid, they used to have first, second, and even third stage smog alerts. Quite a lot. There was far less cars on the road at that time than there is now. The smog is far better now than it was at that time. Why is that? Well, I have a little chart here. You can see on the screen there, in the bottom left. This is a comparison of emissions from a Chevy Malibu. The 1965, 1975, and a 2003 Chevy Malibu. Well, you can see the hydrocarbons emissions of 1965 were 8.8. In 1975, they were 0.9. In 2003, they were 0.062. So they keep improving these hydrocarbon emissions. Also, you see the carbon monoxide, and the oxides of nitrogen, all of those figures have significantly improved since 1965. I think they have peaked, the smog levels peaked in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. Since then, they've been improving. Could they improve more? Of course. We can always get better. Everyone wants to improve our environment. Why not? But we have to be responsible. And these things where they say things, they're just from someone's point of view, a relative. They're not truths. We have to be responsible and know the difference. Use your experience. Use what you know. I realize when people are younger, I was easily tricked into believing there was going to be no more oil. At that time, we waited in long gas lines to get gas. I remember waiting 8 hours, riding in with my mom in a car, all 4 of us kids, waiting to get gas. We thought the earth was running out of fuel. It was running out of all oil. But that wasn't the truth. Some will say, oh, it's just because we found better ways of exploring for it. Well, yeah, but that doesn't change the truth that there was plenty of oil down there and that someone made a bad judgment. And everyone can make a bad judgment, but they were irresponsible, saying that this is, something that is a truth rather than just an opinion. And that's being irresponsible and jumping to a conclusion. This is a story, I believe this is from Norman Geisler. It tells a story. He was a teacher at a college, And he made an assignment for everyone in the class to write an essay about truth. Write an essay, 500 words, put it in a folder, hand it in. All about truth. So anyways, they all completed the assignments, handed them out to everyone, and one of the young men there got it back and seen that he got an F. So he took it up to the teacher and he said, "Why did I get an F on this? It's got 500 words on it." He goes, "Yeah." "It's written all in good English, right?" "Yeah." "Very good grammar." "Did I make a good point?" "Oh yeah, you made a good point." "Well, why'd you give me an F?" "Well, your point was that all truth is relative." And the student said, "Yeah, that was my point, that all truth is relative. All truth is just a person's opinion." Well, he said, "I don't like red folders, so you get an F." He goes, "That's not fair." "Well, if all truth is relative, then it is. It's just your opinion against my opinion. All truth is relative." This is from 1 Timothy 4:1-3. "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats, which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth." They're hypocritical. They say they know the truth, but they say you don't. They say nobody can know the truth, yet they are so sure they have the truth. You see some of these things even now starting to happen. They're trying to get people to stop eating meat, saying it's bad for you. You haven't seen people forbidding to marry yet. That's about to come. There's another example they use in the colleges. They create this scenario that there's this lifeboat that only has enough room for 6. And they split everybody up in the class. And they say, okay, everybody come up to a conclusion. Well, how do you solve this problem? That only 6 of them can live. What they're trying to prove from this scenario is that, each person sees things morally different. So everybody comes back with their different scenarios of what they're going to do. They're going to flip a coin, or they're going to decide it by maybe who's the weakest, throw them overboard, or, they have all these different scenarios that they come up with. I believe maybe it's the one that's the heaviest. They figure they need it lighter. Everybody's idea or opinion about morality is different. And so this is the scenario they showed, to show that everybody has, it's all relative, just depending on your point of view. But the bottom line is this. If all truth is just relative, it doesn't matter. Throw them all overboard. Who cares? There's no such thing as morality. There's no such thing as truth. Throw them all overboard. Who cares? Doesn't matter. This is a story about a young guy who went to see this preacher. This preacher was teaching, and his theme was that all religious beliefs are true. He goes in and he's watching this sermon. The pastor goes on and on for an hour, saying that no matter what your beliefs are, they're true. So at the end of the sermon, the young man meets the preacher, and the preacher says, what'd you think of my sermon? And the young man said, "You don't want to know." He goes, "No, I really do. I want to know. What'd you think of it?" He goes, "No, you don't really want to know." And then the preacher says, "No, I want to know. It doesn't matter what you believe. It's true. It doesn't matter what you believe. All religious beliefs are true." So finally the young man leans over and whispers in his ear. He says, "I believe you're going to hell." And the pastor goes, "Oh, maybe your beliefs are not true. All religious beliefs cannot be true." Here's another self-defeating statement for you. There are no absolutes. Are you absolutely sure? I seen an article in a paper that said, absolutists are absolutely sure there are no absolutes. It's an absolute statement. It cannot be true. It commits suicide on itself. It destroys itself. The roadrunner tactic. Really see that has nothing to substantiate it. I'm going to talk here a little bit about these Antifa people. They stand behind a banner a few years back saying, "We are ungovernable no matter who you elect." That was for the election, I believe, for Hillary and Trump. And then they went off and rioted. See them pushing the police in it. The police are trying to, because they're rioting and destroying public property. The police at that time would stop it. Well, because of the way the leaders believed at that time, they would stop this stuff. Now, from what I understand, they kind of let them go. They don't even stop them. But you see them, they say press and unpress. At the very end, he's saying that. So in other words, push on the policemen. Then when they start getting sprayed with mace, they back off. But what I really want you to notice on here is they start saying, one of them says, we were just walking, and they sprayed us with mace. If you are ungovernable, you have no rights. If you have no government, you have no rights. Kill you, anything. Without a government, you have nothing to protect you. Nobody cares. You have no rights. There's no government. This whole idea of anarchy is nonsense. You see the hypocrisy, the lies, speaking the lies and hypocrisy. The people who have convinced these young people that this is valid is nonsense. It's utter nonsense.
Press, guys, press. I'm pressed, I'm pressed, I'm pressed. I'm pressed, I'm pressed. I'm pressed. Yo! I'm pressed, all right?
Watch out for the bombs like this.
Play soccer, man.
Another big one. What happened, Ken? What happened?
They maced us because we were walking. They maced.
Screaming again.
We were just walking and they maced us. Yeah, right. You have no rights. You're standing behind a sign that says we are ungovernable. You have no rights. If you truly believe that, you wouldn't care. They don't. They're just thugs, just wanting to cause trouble. But what's really sad is that a lot of these colleges convince these kids that there is no truth and that anarchy is a way. It's not a way. It does not work. Anarchy does not work. It's never worked, never will work. This has to be strongly opposed by our whole society. Can't let it go to something, this kind of nonsense. Whenever you protest that you are right, you're saying the other side is wrong. What are they protesting? They're saying their way is right. They're saying they know the truth, that there shouldn't be any government. So is it absolutely true that asbestos is dangerous? You see, some of these people are so willing to give up moral truths, but they're so certain about this moral truth, that asbestos is bad for you. The government puts in things, you have to have it eradicated. Go through all these steps to eradicate that asbestos. Are they absolutely sure of it? Probably I believe it. But I believe in truth. Do you? These people say there's no absolute truth. Do they read the labels on their medication? Bet they do. Here's another self-defeating statement. I can't speak a word of English. There, I just uttered 7 of them in the statement. It's obviously self-defeating. It can't be true. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Wallbuilders.com's David Barton, he has a lot of stuff on our founding fathers. I think really interesting. I recommend you go and watch some of those. Another self-defeating. A one-ended stick. Is there such a thing? That's what, no, there is no truth is like a one-ended stick. Don't exist. My brother is an only child. Everything I say is a lie. My mother had no children that lived. All these are self-defeating. These next things, it's self-evident that they are false. One is the scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. Said, if I only had a brain. Well, you know he has a brain. He's doing things. You have to have a brain in order to do those things. It's a self-evident that he has a brain. Jar Jar says the same things. They ask him, he goes, are you brainless? He goes, I speak. Well, yeah, it's self-evident. In other words, he's saying, you can see that I speak, so it's obvious that I have a brain. If someone speaks, they have a brain. Back in the 70s, Steve Martin, he did another one which was self-evident false. Come out on stage and say, I was born a poor black child. And everybody would laugh. Nowadays, people would take him seriously. Does that guy really think he's black? And they would entertain it. Oh, maybe we should treat him as a black man. Back then, it was just funny. He knew it was false. I never think that would be true. The Declaration of Independence has said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men are created equal is a self-evident truth. They have certain unalienable rights. What are these unalienable rights? Life. All people have the right to life. Liberty, that's freedom. Liberty is freedom. The pursuit of happiness. Happiness is not the truth, but that you're created equal and you should be allowed to have this right to the pursuit of happiness. That's the right you have. That's a truth, that you have that right. And I hope it continues for us to have that right. We're a republic. We're not a democracy. A lot of people think we're a democracy. We are not. We're a republic. A democracy is just what the majority agrees upon. You know, the public opinion never voted in that nationwide or even statewide homosexual marriage. California had it voted multiple times. It was shot down. They're a very liberal state. It was shot down multiple times in voting. Abortion would have never been voted in by the public. We are not a democracy. We vote for the people that we put into power, and then they make the decisions. Democracy, a true democracy, is just what the majority agrees upon. If everybody agrees that 2 + 2 = 3, and by golly, that's what it is. But they're wrong. But that's what they would enact in the law. We have truths that was agreed upon by our founding fathers, and they've worked better than any other country. We can prove that our Constitution has worked for over 200 years. In the Civil War, both sides had a song that was considered their song. And the North had a song called the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And the South had a song called Dixie. And both those songs were basically considered the song of both. And as you know, that I'm big into music. I'm the power of music. The song Dixie had a good little tune to it. But the Battle Hymn of the Republic was a godly song. Very godly song. And it was a song of the North. Written in 1861, the lyrics by Julia Ward Howe. It goes like this. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. He has died to make men holy. Let us die to make men free, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Well, if you take any weight in which song was a better song lyrically, and that had any impact on winning the war, I would say, well, certainly this was the more godly song of the two. Some of the things Abraham Lincoln did, like setting up Thanksgiving Day. He also set up a day of prayer. It's all truth. You can check out the history. Everyone knows the truth about morality. I don't have to tell you. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that it's wrong to torture babies or to hurt people for fun. You don't have to explain it to them. They know it's wrong. Can you see clearly? Can you see the truth? Can you see the forest through the trees? For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. This is Romans chapter 1. I'll go through real quickly, but the invisible things of him, creation, just all the creation, nature itself shows you these things. Even his eternal power, you can see. You can see that the world, the clouds, everything is so beautiful. You can see these things. You can see that someone had to create these things. So they are without excuse. And they became vain in their imaginations. Vain means empty. They start to imagine their own little world they made up. Their foolish heart was darkened. So are you one of those that is giving heed to these seducing spirits and doctrines of devils and had your conscience seared with a hot iron? Or can you see clearly? What does he mean by having your conscience seared? You'll see some people say, well, I don't have any conscience anymore. It doesn't bother me any. These things that are wrong, that the Bible says are wrong. It doesn't bother me, murder or rape or whatever. That means your conscience has been seared with a hot iron. That's what he's talking about here in this verse in 1 Timothy 4. He's comparing it to being like they would take a hot iron, like do a brand someone, like brand a cattle, what have you. You'd sear it. It sears the skin so that your skin doesn't have any more sensation anymore. You can't feel anymore. The nerves are gone. He's saying the same thing about your conscience. Has your conscience been seared with that hot iron? Do you no longer have any more feeling about other people? What's right? What's wrong? Paul says in Romans chapter 1 that, their conscience can be seared so much that they can't even know what's right and wrong anymore. God gives them up to a reprobate mind. It's like there's no longer hope for them. Are you at that point? Pray that you're not. Pray that you're not at that point. I pray that you can see that there still is truth. Go out, seek, and ye shall find. If you ask God, he'll help you on this quest, the truth quest. I believe the people that are just on a happiness quest probably aren't watching anymore. They've given up. They don't care. They still got their fingers in their ears like the little girl. La, 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 I don't want to hear the truth. There is truth. You can discover it. I've got 2 more parts to this. I pray that you watch those. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a blessed day.